In the heart of Texas, under a canopy of stars that seemed to mock the small town's tranquility, Sarah Thompson embarked on an ordinary evening's journey home from the library. The frost-kissed air held its breath as if in anticipation of the chilling tale about to unfold. The library, a sanctuary of knowledge and enlightenment, stood as a stark contrast to the encroaching night. Its warm embrace had sheltered Sarah from the cold winds that howled through the desolate plains, whispering tales of fear and uncertainty. As she stepped out onto the silent streets, her footsteps echoed like a hollow drumbeat, a melody that seemed to reverberate with a foreboding rhythm. The moon cast long shadows across the snow-dusted landscape, casting an eerie pallor over everything it touched. A distant owl hooted, its call a haunting reminder of nature's indifference to mankind's struggles. The once familiar town now seemed tainted by the specter of an unseen menace that lurked just beyond the edge of Sarah's peripheral vision. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the darkness, cloaked in the shadows like a ghostly apparition. His presence was as unsettling as it was ephemeral, disappearing and reappearing with an uncanny grace that left Sarah's heart pounding in her chest. The cold air seemed to grow colder still, as if holding its breath in suspense, waiting for the inevitable confrontation between the unsuspecting woman and the sinister figure that haunted her path home. The assailant moved with an eerie precision, his eyes locked onto Sarah as if she were a delicate prey, about to be ensnared by the cruel jaws of fate. The once quiet town now held its breath, as if listening for any sign of struggle, any faint cry for help that would shatter the silence and expose the darkness that lay hidden just beyond the threshold. As Sarah reached her front door, the figure retreated back into the shadows from whence he came. The cold wind seemed to sigh in relief, as if the town had narrowly averted a calamity. But the unease lingered, a chilling whisper of fear that echoed through the quiet streets long after Sarah had locked her door and sought solace within her home. For this was not just a random encounter. It was a harbinger of darkness, a warning of the evil that lay hidden just beyond the threshold. The town would never be the same again, for the darkness had left its mark, a stain upon the soul of the once peaceful community. And Sarah Thompson, though unscathed in body, bore the scars of her encounter deep within her soul, a reminder of the fragile line that separated safety from danger, light from darkness, and the tenuous balance that held the heartland of Texas in its grips. In the fading twilight of that frigid Texas night, Sarah Thompson, a figure both fragile and resolute, trudges through the snow-laden streets towards her home. The darkness, once comforting, now looms ominously as a menacing presence lurks at the edge of her peripheral vision. The air seems to crackle with tension, the silence shattered only by the crunch of boots on ice and the occasional hoot of an unseen owl. As she rounds a bend, Sarah's heart leaps into her throat as a shadowy figure steps out from between the buildings, his eyes glinting maliciously in the dim light. His hand reaches for her purse, a cold and calculating grasp that ignites an animalistic fear within her. In an instant, Sarah's body reacts, her fingers curling around the handle of a concealed pistol trained on the figure before her. The next moment is a blur of motion, a deafening explosion ringing in Sarah's ears as she fires a single shot into the darkness. The figure staggers, his eyes widening in shock and terror before crumpling to the ground, blood blooming around him like a dark stain on the pristine white snow. As the reality of her actions sinks in, Sarah's face contorts with guilt and remorse. She stumbles backwards, tears streaming down her cheeks as she watches the life ebb from the figure at her feet. The cold night air seems to close in around her, a suffocating weight that threatens to crush her under its icy grip. In the days and weeks that follow, Sarah finds herself haunted by the memory of that fateful encounter. Her dreams are filled with the ghostly figure, his malevolent smile taunting her from the shadows. The community, once united in fear, now turns on her, casting aspersions and whispers of doubt in her direction. Yet through it all, Sarah stands tall, a testament to courage and resilience in the face of darkness that continues to linger just beyond the threshold of her home. The cloak of darkness descends upon the sleepy town, wrapping it in an embrace that whispers secrets to the wind. Within a nondescript house, the flickering light from the television casts long, dancing shadows on the walls, illuminating a family huddled together in a sanctuary of fear. The year is 1986, and the Matthews family finds itself in an unnerving standoff with an unseen adversary. The father, John's elderly sibling, a man of stoic resolve, sits stiffly in his favorite chair. His eyes, usually filled with warmth and wisdom, are clouded now by worry and uncertainty as he stares into the void, searching for answers that elude him. The mother, her once youthful features lined with age and sorrow, tenderly holds their daughter Emily's hand, a silent promise of protection that seems ever elusive in this hour of need. The house creaks as it settles into the night, a constant reminder of its own mortality and the fragility of the lives within. From the safety of her bedroom window, Emily watches the shadows dance across the yard, a macabre ballet that stirs unease in her heart. She's not alone. An invisible presence has joined her, a phantom watcher who lingers just beyond the threshold. The family is plagued by strange occurrences, lights flickering at will, the sound of whispered voices carrying on the wind, and the sightings of a white SUV with tinted windows that seems to appear out of nowhere and vanish just as mysteriously. Each incident leaves them shaken, their grip on reality slipping like grains of sand through their fingers. As they gather around the kitchen table, huddled in silence, John's sister speaks, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and despair. "We can't live this way, not anymore," she says, her eyes filled with tears that reflect the flickering light from the television. The father nods his agreement, his jaw clenched tight as he struggles to find words to ease their fears. With each passing day, the shadows grow bolder, encroaching upon the family's safe haven. The once tranquil home is now a battlefield where the Matthews stand guard against an unseen enemy. As they wait for dawn to break and chase away the darkness, they are left with more questions than answers, their hearts heavy with fear and uncertainty. In the years that follow, the shadowy figure will continue to stalk their dreams, leaving a trail of terror in his wake. Unbeknownst to them, this unseen adversary is not just a figment of their imagination. He is real, lurking just beyond the threshold, watching and waiting for the perfect moment to strike again. And it is here, in the heart of darkness, that the seeds of John's obsession are sown, a thirst for justice that will consume him, drive him forward, and ultimately lead him to confront the shadows that have haunted his family for so long. As the camera lingers on the now empty house, the wind whispers through the cracks, carrying with it the echoes of their memories, a chilling reminder of the darkness that once dwelled within. And as the final credits roll, the question remains, who was watching and why? The answer, like the shadows themselves, remains shrouded in mystery, leaving us to ponder the true nature of evil and the lengths we will go to vanquish it from our lives. In the somber heart of winter, the small Texas town that had once known peace now lay shrouded in an oppressive blanket of fear. The community was rattled by a series of events that bore an all too familiar imprint, the sinister presence of an anonymous assailant. This time, however, it was not Sarah Thompson who found herself face to face with the terrifying figure, but her own sister, Emily Johnson. The night had descended like a velvet cloak over the quiet town, its darkness seemingly deepened by the weight of collective dread. As Emily ventured out to feed the stray cats she had taken under her wing, she unwittingly stepped into a trap set by the elusive predator lurking in the shadows. The chilling whisper of fear that had once whispered past Sarah now echoed through Emily's trembling form as she found herself ensnared in a web of terror. Detective John Matthews, his weary eyes glued to the cold, unforgiving landscape before him, could sense the tension building like a storm on the horizon. The pieces of the puzzle he had been carefully assembling seemed to click into place with a deafening clatter. As he pored over the evidence, a chilling truth began to take shape. The assailant's reach extended far beyond Sarah Thompson's life. This was not an isolated incident, but rather the latest in a series of disturbing attacks that had plagued the town for years. The detectives who had once hunted this monster were long gone, their frustrations boiling over into resignation as one unsolved case after another piled up like stones upon a gravestone. Yet John was different. His unwavering commitment to justice and his fervent belief in the redemptive power of truth kept him tethered to this haunting mystery. As he delved deeper into the darkness, the weight of the town's expectations, and his own personal demons bore down upon him like an unyielding storm. The ghosts of past failures clung to him like specters, whispering doubts into his ears and stealing away his peace. But John pressed onward, guided by a beacon of hope that flickered faintly in the distance. The promise of justice for the victims and the peace that could only be found in redemption. The community, held captive by this looming menace, clung to one another for comfort and support. In their darkest hours, they found solace in each other's strength, their hearts beating as one as they united against the encroaching darkness that threatened to consume them all. And in the midst of it all stood Emily Johnson, her spirit unbroken despite the cruel hand fate had dealt her. As she confronted her own mortality and grappled with the crushing weight of fear, she found an unexpected ally in John Matthews, a man whose determination and unwavering resolve seemed to mirror her own indomitable spirit. Together, they would face the darkness that lay beyond the threshold, seeking answers and justice for the victims and peace for themselves. For as long as there was hope, as long as there was light, they knew that they could overcome even the most terrifying of shadows. And in their struggle, they found solace, not just in each other, but in the unyielding bond that connected them to the community and to the justice they sought to bring to bear against the twisted figure lurking in the darkness. As the sun sets, casting long shadows across the desolate Texas plains, John Matthews, our seasoned law enforcement officer, finds himself once more drawn into the labyrinth of the unsolved case that has gripped this close-knit community. The wind carries a sense of urgency, whispering through the dry grasses like the rustle of secrets long buried. In a forsaken house on the outskirts of town, John descends into the bowels of darkness, guided by an intuition honed by years of chasing shadows. The air is thick with dust and the stench of decay as he approaches the water heater closet. Inside, light from his flashlight dances across a sinister tableau, names scrawled in neat, precise handwriting, interspersed with crude drawings and discarded gum wrappers. The names, Sarah, Emily, and others, are linked by an invisible thread that binds them to this house, to the town, and to a malevolent presence that has lurked in its shadows for far too long. John can feel the weight of their fear, their despair, their hopes and dreams shattered like fragments of glass beneath his feet. The drawings, grotesque and twisted, offer a glimpse into the twisted mind of the assailant, a window into the darkness that lies within him. The gum wrappers, casually discarded yet imbued with meaning, serve as a macabre trail of breadcrumbs leading to the perpetrator's lair. As John stands there, surrounded by the cold, hard evidence of a crime that has left this community in shambles, he can feel the hairs on the back of his neck prickle with unease. He knows he is closer than ever before to unmasking the enigma that haunts their lives. But as he steps out into the gathering twilight, he cannot shake the nagging feeling that the danger has only just begun. The tension in the air is palpable, a chilling whisper of fear that cuts through the silence like a knife. As John drives back to town, the headlights illuminating the desolate landscape, it feels as though he is racing against time itself. For in the darkness beyond the threshold, the assailant waits, watching and waiting for his next chance to strike. In this moment, we are reminded that justice is not always swift or easy, but it is a pursuit worth fighting for, a beacon of hope amidst the encroaching shadows. And as John continues his relentless quest for truth, we can only hope that he will find the redemption he so desperately seeks, and bring peace to a community haunted by the darkness that lies just beyond the threshold. As the icy grip of night descends upon this once peaceful town, the tension in its heartbeat escalates to a feverish pitch. The community's collective breath is held hostage by an elusive specter that has haunted their dreams for far too long. The fate of one soul hangs precariously in the balance. Emily Johnson, Sarah Thompson's sister, whose life now teeters on the precipice of salvation or oblivion. Our seasoned investigator, John Matthews, and Mayor Margaret Davis, an ally forged through necessity and mutual resolve, work tirelessly to track down the shadowy figure who has left a trail of terror in his wake. With each passing moment, the stakes grow higher, the urgency palpable in the crisp winter air that crackles with anticipation. The stage is set for a dramatic confrontation, a dance between darkness and light, as they close in on their quarry. In the cold, moonlit expanse of an abandoned warehouse, the assailant is cornered, his every move tracked by the unrelenting gaze of law enforcement and the haunted eyes of the community he has preyed upon for so long. The air thickens with the weight of impending resolution as the two forces collide in a tense standoff. The assailant's face is obscured by the shadows, his identity still shrouded in mystery, but it is evident that this man has wrought havoc upon the once innocent town and left countless lives forever altered. As the minutes stretch into an eternity, a single gunshot echoes through the night, the sound of justice being served or an act of retribution long overdue. The assailant collapses to the ground, mortally wounded by none other than Sarah Thompson herself, a fact that leaves everyone present with a mixture of shock, horror, and a sense of closure. In his dying moments, the assailant reveals neither remorse nor regret, only an unhinged, incomprehensible laughter that lingers long after the last gasps of life have escaped his body. As he succumbs to the darkness, the community is left with more questions than answers. Who was this man, and what drove him to commit such heinous acts? In the end, the assailant dies without revealing his true identity, leaving the community with a hollow sense of victory and an emptiness that can only be filled by healing and understanding. As the sun rises on a new day, Sarah Thompson stands resolute, her courage unwavering in the face of adversity and fear. She serves as a reminder that even in the darkest of times, love, resilience, and hope can triumph over evil, if only for a moment, until the darkness beyond the threshold rears its head